everybody. Trisha Turner here with another episode of Anything But Average, Achieving Success in Life. We are back on our normal schedule, which is Tuesdays at noon, and I have with you my friend Randy Olive today. Hi, Randy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Like in your intro stuff, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
I've watched it, but like being part of it while it's rolling is like got me a little excited, man.
The music's good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love it.
Gives you good energy. So you guys out there, you're going to notice that Randy is still in his home. So I'm going to take everybody back a little bit. I started this a few months ago, rolling out Tuesdays at noon. And then when the coronavirus came, we did a daily podcast, a daily episode every day during the month of April to bring positivity to the world and you guys out there, because real estate has changed and Randy runs one of the largest mega teams. Their team is killing it. Randy's got a full plate. So I thought, what better person to interview during this whole coronavirus, and now that we're kind of coming out of some of it, than Randy, who's running this major team. So Randy, tell everybody, what team you run, kind of a little bit of backstory of you, please.
Yeah. So I run one of the Keller Williams offices out here in Houston, Texas, the northwest side of Houston, Texas. Just a huge opportunity for me just to invest in agents' lives. You know, that's my jam. I started out as a buyer's agent. I was the lead buyer's agent with the Loken Group for 2.5 years before taking over as a team leader of the office. And in 2.5 years, closed 138 transactions. Really, man, loved the buyer process, did almost everything 100% in the buyer side of the world. That is a beast in and of itself.
Yes.
And I just absolutely love it. And I think the thing that I love most about it was like the connectivity of the emotions on the buyer side. Like there's so much more intense, I think. And again, just in my opinion. And so it was just fun. It was like almost, I'm not a lion tamer, but I'm going to pretend like I am. It's like having that lion tamer when you see that guy in the cracking the whip and everything. So it was just a lot of fun building those relationships. And when I had the opportunity to step into a leadership role, it's the thing that fills my soul to just invest in people and their dreams. And so it's just a lot of fun. So
now, how long have you been in the leadership with the Loken Group?
Yeah, so I have been. So I was on their team for 2.5 years, took over as the leader of the market center that they purchased in 2017. So I've been with 5 years now with that group. Yeah.
I love it. So for all of you guys out there that don't know who the Loken Group is, for number one, I've been in real estate forever too, and I love them. I have the utmost respect for them. They have the greatest name in real estate here in Houston. And so give everybody a little bit of backstory about Lance Loken.
Yeah, so Lance and Karina, the Loken Group started, oh man. I joined at about year 3. So now they've been 8-10 years, somewhere right in that range. Karina was a school teacher, got into the world of real estate, got a little burnout on the teaching world. And then Lance he was in the oil and gas world. And when it collapsed, so did his job. And so he joined Karina in real estate. And the way that he looked at real estate was that he wanted to create more of a business plan the way that a corporate structured business plan is. And so he really took a lot of time and energy and really like his resume that had his, statement of how I want to do what I do became their mission, vision, value statement for their real estate company. Yeah. And in the process went from $8 million in volume their first year to last year they closed 600. He's going to get mad at me if I don't get it right. 620 million in volume, somewhere around there. And so, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. They've got 98 people on their team now.
Holy crap.
It's awesome. And right. So yesterday they just had a whole new group of people join them. So even during the times of COVID, they've continued to move forward. June may be their highest record. Their highest numbers on the books ever. And so just really phenomenal people. And I think the biggest thing for them is that, and Lance and I talked about this the other day, his level of caring, I think, is a superpower. Like he cares about people, like more so than I think anybody else. Like he has this just innate desire to care for people. And he shared a story when he was 8 years old. He was delivering newspapers and he went and this guy was sitting there waiting on his newspaper. And he's like, what are you doing? And the guy was like, well, I'm just waiting on my newspaper. He goes, you shouldn't, like, that's my job. I'm supposed to serve you. So he got up an hour earlier the next day so he could beat this dude who was the early when he was 8 years old. Who thinks that way? And so that has carried into everything that he's ever touched. And so just a super caring guy. Karina as well. Their benevolence is just off the charts.
You know, and when I met you, and just so you guys all know, Randy and I spoke on a panel together, and we sat next to each other, and we're not competitors. We feed off each other, and we, you know, believe that the real estate industry needs more people like us.
Yeah.
And so he was like in a seat next to me, and he was perched up on like this bar stool. He sat like a bird on a perch. And so I've never seen anyone sit in a chair like that, and it was so memorable. But you got called out a couple of times for your seating arrangement.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you know, well, so what's funny is that I was sitting in, I have a stool here, but the challenge is my my COVID stool, if you will, in my home studio is like completely metal. And the other day I was sitting on it and I was perched on it and I literally slid right off of it. And so it would be a terrible thing to happen live. And so I decided to not do the perching thing. I'm standing on my my little fatigue mat here in the
Well, your energy I loved, and so that from that very first time I just clicked with you right away. And so during all of this COVID thing, I thought, what better person to bring on, of course, amongst all the other people that I've been talking to, but you're part of the biggest organization here, one of the biggest organizations in Houston. And so I thought it would be really good for you to share, like, that COVID thing came out of the blue. None of us saw it coming. So immediately you're impacted by it. What did you see it happening to you guys? Kind of how did you have to shift the way you were running the team? And what do you see going from here on out?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk on two parallel things, right? Because I do run an office of agents who are individual agents, same way. And then obviously connected to some pretty major teams. So I'm going to talk about it in a little bit of a parallel sense. But before that, man, if anybody who is tuning in that hasn't caught anything, I've caught the bits and pieces of what you're doing with you have had some phenomenal guests, not just like you blew right by that. Like, it's been kind of cool. It's like, no, you've had some of the giants in the industry that we could learn a lot from. And so thank you for coordinating that. And I hope that everybody takes that to heart and goes back and watches what you've done with your interviews. So, when I looked at it happening, like, one of the things that I hope that it's done is that it's caused the leaders to pay a little bit more attention to what's happening around us. We get into this rhythm, right? That's great. I'm all about some rhythm, but we get into a rhythm that tends to be more of a task list that's checkboxed. Mm-hmm. And then when something like this comes along, if we're not paying attention, it'll sideline us. And it didn't sideline us, I don't think, because we jumped in and just started going. Like, March. So my birthday was March 7th. So I remember all of this happening. I was like, dude, this is like, I was just watching all of it. And I'm like, it's about to happen here. And we just started, like, I started putting together all the pieces. Like, we were home, we were set up home working, all of our leadership by March 11th. Mm-hmm. And so we were done. We were there. We had everything set up and we're ready to go. So we weren't sidelined by it as much as I think most people were. And I immediately went into, what if this doesn't change? And that was my thought process, right? What if this doesn't change? So many people said, how do we fix it right now for now? What do we do for now? I was like, what do we do if this is for forever? And that was my thought process. I think that helped me out a ton, because I went through and I thought, okay, if an agent absolutely had to do everything virtually, what if they shut it down like they did in Pennsylvania for us here in Houston? Like, all of that could be very real. And so how could you empower a client to still do their own virtual tour if it was necessary, to bring in excellence to it? And so we were just creative process. Actually, it felt like the Apollo 13 movie, you know, and I'm not comparing myself to that brilliance. I went through and I literally dumped out like a box of like duct tape. And it was like, all right, so this is what they've got. So this is what we got to do it with. And use Facebook to figure out, like, most people don't realize Facebook, if you take, and I'm giving away all of the things that I did, so that if this helps you guys, awesome. If you take a panoramic view with your phone in a true panoramic sweep, Facebook automatically, and you put it individual, will load it as a 360-degree photo.
Boom, y'all. Y'all better pick up that nugget.
I looked at it and was like, okay, so this is still going to be kind of cheesy, right? Because it's like, it's a camera phone picture. So I went through and I thought, like, if you create it more like a concierge service, Facebook concierge page. So it's a group page. You put a little headline. You go through and you take a panoramic photo of each room, and immediately this could turn into a virtual tour for now, and a client could do that. So I really started thinking, like, what could they do if none of them, right? The second thing, like more on the leadership side. So I was kind of MacGyvering things for our agents on the individual basis. On the other side of it, from a leadership standpoint, I was looking at all of our leaders who are building their businesses, and I thought through a few different things. One is it's easy to come up with the solutions. Like if I were to say to you, what are the 5 things we should do differently? Like you could probably jot down some pretty quick 5 things. But if I said, hey, what are the 20 things we should do differently? You'll still get those 5 things, but the brilliance is going to happen on the second half of that list, because you've got to begin to empty your mind. And I think that's one of the things that I've loved about COVID is that we have all been more willing to think beyond the first 2 answers, which is that's the easy button. Mm-hmm. It's that second half of the list where we really dig into our creativity, the resources around us. We start to really look at what do we have. And so I began to challenge leaders to think in that kind of capacity. Is like, what if you could only pick the 13th thing on your list? It's like, well, then I need to come up with the brilliant things throughout the whole thing. I need to put myself into this. And so that's been fun to kind of watch. The minds that I didn't realize that even around me that were like, that's really clever. I've never really thought about that. I did a lot of cross training. So all of us have been spammed from masterclass at some point, right? On your Instagram or your Facebook. It's like, well, to cook like the chefs and whatever. Well, there's some really cool underlying things in there. How to write comedy, advertising, marketing. I subscribe to masterclass, and every day while I'm doing my row machine, I'm watching 10, 15 minutes of that. So, yeah. And I think the other thing, and sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're good.
And I was sharing this, I started to share this a little bit, but I actually did this exercise with my leadership. So we've been at home, and we're still at home. So we have not yet made it back to the office. We've gotten really good at working from home with our leadership side of things. So we're keeping it that way for now. But I said, hey, what's the ideal schedule, right? And so we've had some of the folks were like, oh, I want to work 3 days from home. I'm like, oh, yeah, so do all of us do. And then some of us were like, well, I'd like to do my one thing at home and then go to the office. And I said, okay, now answer me this. We have 239 agents, right, in our office. So let me ask you this. We're leadership. What would the agents think of that schedule? And then they went into the oh, well, you're never there. You're never available. Oh, yeah. I was like, awesome, cool. Before COVID, how did the agents feel about us when we're at the office? The same thing. You're never there, you're not available, and all that stuff. I was like, and what do they think about us right now? They're like, oh my gosh, you're there, you're available. And I said, the difference is the intentionality and the perception of what's the office about. We were misaligned, and I realized this being home. We were misaligned in the fact that when I went to the office as a leadership, I'm going to be productive. Agents going up to the office, they're more some productivity, but most of them are coming to connect.
Yeah.
And so my door closed, even though I'm present, it would just be like, your wife wants to go out with you on a date, and you sit there and you watch a movie and all this, the whole time, that's not connecting.
That's on your phone,
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to look at changing the way we think about the office as not a productive space, but a connectivity space. And so I'm asking our leadership to make sure the bottom half of your list is what is interruptible, is what you're doing in the office, so that every agent has access to us at all times. And so I want to keep the connectivity. COVID has connectivity. And the intentionality. I would like to say I've called all of our agents. I haven't actually connected with all of the agents. I've dialed all of our agents, but every single one of our leadership for the first 2 weeks, we called every single one of our people on our roster twice. And so we're just continually connecting. That's the difference, right? It has to be about that. And I don't want that to stop. No. I want the intentionality of that connectivity to continue.
So with that many agents and you managing them, basically, or being part of people that manage them, that's a lot of people whose morale you have to keep up. So what did you do kind of during, especially during the hardest days? I think right now in Houston, we're coming out of it,
Yeah.
things are opening up, but what is it that you were focusing on to help them keep their business going, keep their morale up?
Well, so I was joking. So I have a coach, and we started talking right out of the gate from day one. Like my first coaching call, like first week in March, I was like, hey, let's be prepared. But this is my sweet spot. I was telling him, I was like, dude, this is where this is my sweet spot. And so like I immediately, like coming into the space, I was like, they need to see our faces. And I know this sounds crazy, but like I was very serious about like everybody needs to see our face. And so I required all of our leadership 100% to be on our Facebook forum every single day. So they had to be on forum with our agents. I bought them all lights, so everybody has to have a light. I was like, I don't want to see shadows on your face. There's a significant amount of connection that happens in our face. Like they need to see your smile. They need to see your eyebrows. They need to see that there needs to be that connectivity. So I made everybody have a ring light or some sort of light so that your face is lit. I don't want to see any dark like stuff.
No.
So it was a lot about like the professional side of it too. I don't want just the hold your camera up and being, I want them to be able to see your face to connect to all the nuances that happen in our faces when we talk.
Yeah.
And so that was important for everybody to be connected. I taught 3 classes every single day. I now have we're like in 60 days now of being at home.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have 40 hours of content now on my YouTube channel from just the classes that I did. So was very heavy in the classes. I also was really serious about taking some of the, even though I was giving away a lot of knowledge, everything I did, I went public with.
Mm-hmm.
I also made sure in our private Facebook forum that we had, I went through and kind of what you're doing and did some more private moments with our team. So got some of the coaches and top agents across the country to share with them. So that was really cool, just so they felt a little bit more like, yeah, but he's mine. Like I know that, yeah. And so that was a big deal. Calls right out of the gate. Like we started making phone calls day one, outbound calls to our agents to make sure they were taken care of. So like the move to the digital space was already something that I was in. Yep. And so it just went up a notch. And then as I watched it, I was like, okay, so how do I keep taking it up a notch?
Oh,
and, yeah. So it's getting probably a little bit much, but I'm enjoying it. Like I'm enjoying every minute of it. And so COVID just really, what it did was it gave us a gift that we all wanted to move into a digital space. We really did. Like, gosh, and even like the company you work with, your brokerage, all about the digital space. Like, and I love it. I think this did really great wonders for like anybody who's in the digital space. My company is very much in the technology side of things as well. So for us, COVID gave us the gift that the consumer would be the one that we need to service, right? The agents will grasp the digital space, but the consumer needs to as well. It gave us the gift that they're willing to test it out. Yeah. And they saw how it would work at a high level. And agents are brilliant. I'm watching agents just do some brilliant things. They are. You're not losing connectivity. No. All of it can still happen. And so the relationship that we thought was being destroyed by the digital world is actually what I'm watching is being enhanced. And COVID gave us that gift. It really did. Like, and let me make sure I say that in a way that's not like one person with COVID is too many. Yes, I'm with you there. When I'm looking at, we could look at the calamity of woe is me, what's going to happen, how do I go back to normal, or we embrace it and move forward. And watching real estate agents, and I say this all the time, I think real estate agents are the most poised position to change the world. Like the relationships, our connections, our networks, the potential for building wealth as a tool, all of those things that can come together in such a beautiful space. And so I've loved it. And I think real estate agents did more care calls than any other industry out there. And so we touched the world by caring through this crisis. And I think it's pretty phenomenal. So, one of the reasons like why I shifted when I first created this whole episode was about helping people in business. But then when COVID came along, I shifted so much because it was like, it's real apparent
when one home sell, with one home sale, how many lives are affected by that? You know, when you think about it, when you sit there and you write it down, how many vendors are involved, and then their families have to be fed and their employees. It's like, it's up to us to continue buying and selling homes and tell everybody how strong our market is, because if we don't, and we let this doom and gloom, what's all being portrayed out there, affect all of us, heaven help us then, you know?
Yeah.
We can't do that. That's
No.
not an option.
And that's the thing. So many of us were getting our information from like our singular source. And so we're going to regurgitate that story. And that's the story we believe. And that's the story we tell. And I was telling our agents all the time, I was like, what you feel is just your normal operations. You need to talk about that out loud in your social media and stuff. You need to post about it. And what sounds crazy is that, like, if you show a house, post about the fact that you're showing a house, because everybody else is going, the world is collapsing, real estate's collapsing, hold on, prices are going to bottom out, the whole, it's calamity, shift, pivot, shift, pivot, shift. I'm like, the shift is there, but it's not like an economic shift. It's a digital shift. It's a weird thing. It's like, I'm watching some of our agents have their best month of their careers. And so it's a different version of a shift, and it's a different version of pivot, but that all got conglomerated into this like chaotic world. And I was like, just tell the normal story. And I'm going to bring in the analogy, and I talk about this analogy a lot. I actually sold cell phones when I first moved to Texas from Georgia. And
wow.
It was terrible. Hated every second of it.
I bet.
The main person that I sold for was Sprint. And here's AT&T came out and they said, and this was a world when we paid per text. I don't know if you remember that world. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Old enough to remember paid per text. So you paid per text, and you got these parents with like these astronomical bills because their kids are like, yeah. AT&T, new ad, hit the television. We are now free text between anybody on our network, which obviously the biggest challenge there is families, and families are like, oh yeah, we're switching over to AT&T.
Oh, yeah.
Free text, done. Well, Sprint had been doing free text messages for forever on their network. It wasn't something new. They just never talked about it. AT&T told the story of something that they thought was just normal. In the same vein, I told our agents, like, you think it's normal for you to go out and show houses. You think it's normal for you to take an appointment and to continue your job as normal, but the world thinks that it's falling apart.
Yep.
And if you begin to tell the story that it's not, they'll believe that story because you're the professional telling it. And that will be the change that we need. That'll be the difference in what we can do. And so it was less about marketing and advertising as just telling the story of what's true. And then obviously the off-put of that is that, like, yeah, and you get free marketing and advertising of it.
Right. It's crazy. It's like, think back when reality TV first came about. You're like, who gives a crap what these people are doing? I don't want to watch these people with their lives. But look, that's what Facebook in essence is reality TV, because it's what we're doing with our lives, right? This is live, y'all.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So for here in our office, like, I am a big optimist. I believe in La La Land, and I believe everything's going to be okay. And I'd rather live in that land.
Yeah.
So but I do study the market like every single day, just like I know that you do. And so from what I see and what everything I'm studying believes that third and fourth quarter are going to be amazing in real estate. What's your thoughts?
So, my immediate thought is yes. However, there is that, and I talk about extreme optimists, like the glass is always half full. It's either full of air or full of water, but it's always full. That's my brain. I'm always in the out of control in that space. When I'm watching what the market's going to do, what happened in March, I'm surprised that we have recovered that fast. And I don't know if it's an anomaly yet. So that's my challenge. I'm kind of watching what's going to happen with that. The residual effects of oil and gas does take a little bit of time to kind of see how that spreads out. The people who lost their jobs in that space, but Houston did such a great job from all of the oil and gas crashes. I think we learned something finally and diversified so much in the economy of Houston that I think we're still going to do just fine. Now, I will tell you what I believe is going to happen though. There was pause buttons pressed, even though we're doing great. It was the great agents that were doing great. The
Right.
agents who are waiting around to see what would happen, they have unfortunately lost market share. And it has been gained on the other end of it.
Yep.
Homes are still selling, records are still being broken. So all of the sellers that did press the pause button, I think there's going to be a shortage of inventory that's going to come around the corner. And so there's going to be a shortage of inventory. There's going to be a lot of buyers, though, that are willing to go, okay, this wasn't as crazy as I thought. Let's do this thing. And so it's going to be an influx of buyers, not a lot of inventory. And so I think it's just going to be a really great recipe for a seller's market for anybody who may have equity in the home that's ever thought about selling. I think the third and fourth quarters are going to be, I don't know if it's going to be just like this huge boom, but I think it's going to be really good for sellers. I think it's going to be really good for sellers. Now, what that means for agents is that you've got to do the activities to be able to get your market share. I don't know what it's going to look like as far as how much inventory will come on, how much inventory will catch up. That's the part that but man, gosh, you look at in my neighborhood right now, and I live in Longwood in Cypress, there's only 2.5 months of inventory on hand.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
If you watch that, your ability as a seller to capitalize on that is going to be
huge.
It's going to be pretty awesome. So every agent out there better be talking about net profit for any of their database, because there are some people in there who may even turn into investors that never knew they had the ability to purchase their future wealth at a discount, which is what's happening right now.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So many people have equity in their homes with interest rates like they are. This is insanity that people aren't taking advantage of this.
It's the perfect storm when the interest rates hit you, right? Because man, I could sell and make a ton, and then I bought my house at a discount. There's a crazy balance, and you actually, if you buy the house in a perfect condition, buy and sell in perfect conditions, you got lucky.
Yeah.
You only know what you know right now. Man, what I know right now is that if I could sell with the equity that I have, and I can purchase my next, and I could get the bigger, better, more that I wanted, like what I'm paying right now, why not? And I don't think enough people who are consumers understand that process. And unfortunately, I don't think enough agents understand how to have that conversation.
I don't either.
Yeah. So, and I think that's why you see some of the bigger teams and people who are a little bit more veterans in the business are actually taking market share, because they're having those conversations versus just your regular old, hey, you looking at somebody to buy or sell real estate? It's like, keep it sale. You need to be the economic expert and the advocate for the consumer. That's it.
I love that accent.
Yeah.
So on a personal level, are you out of your house yet? Are you going out and doing stuff now that we've gotten kind of released?
So no, no, and here's the reason why. So I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. We've been very serious about just staying inside. We don't have to. And so for me, I look at it from a standpoint of, if we go out and we do things, it's more than likely just going to be entertainment quality. Well, I don't know if you know me or not, but I can do just as enough entertainment as anybody needs. And so let's let it watch and settle still a little bit, because it would be detrimental to me if I felt like I brought something home and my kids ended up getting something when it's unnecessary for me to have to participate at a high level yet. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I am connecting through some sort of class online, out in front with people. I teach for people. Anybody who calls and is like, hey, man, will you do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm in. So I'm sharing back into other people's spaces as well to help them connect.
Yeah.
Our agents, I actually have a broker that we pay to be on leadership. So I'm not the broker, even though I'm the leader, I'm not the broker.
Right.
Ann is our broker. She's brilliant. She's, she has forgotten more than I will ever learn in my life. I have her. She's got set up. She teaches classes online. She's 80. She might murder me for saying this. I don't know. She's 86 years old.
Are you serious?
She's teaching classes online. She does every Thursday. She teaches a compliance class online for our agents to make sure contracts.
That is crazy.
She got her set up. She's got her computer. I meet with my leadership every morning. So there's not a need for me to go and be out and about. Now, my needs, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm a pretty outspoken individual. I'm missing some of that human interaction. But I'm also, I have built in 50 conversations that are going to happen every single day because of like our office, what I do and everything.
Right.
So I am blessed in that space. If I was an individual agent figuring out how to navigate this, I bet I would probably be a little bit more depressed than I am. So
yeah, I
this
don't
is
think
real
you're-
talk. Yeah. No, like say then I am. So like this little smidgen here, because I will tell you, week 2, I had that moment where I was like, I don't want to do anything. Like I literally took my shoes off, took my socks off, and I went out, stood in my grass so I could get some sun and ground myself in the earth, because I was like, I'm literally about to just fall apart. I got to do something. Something's got to change. And then I began to adjust the way that I could participate with people. I think I was trying to carry too much of the load to help, and I was missing the opportunity for me to care for me. And so I readjusted the way I did my rhythm. And be honest with you, if you like, every morning I play Zelda. Like I do. Like I have this zone out moment. I've done I've done my stuff. I've made my coffee. I've got my day ready. I've looked at what I'm doing. I'm going to play 30 minutes of Zelda on my Nintendo Switch because I'm a big goofball and like my ultimate.
That's
like,
your time.
Yeah. So it's just, I had to find a new balance for me, so that I didn't hit burnout. Like leader burnout, that's what I'm curious about. What's next is leadership burnout. We've carried a lot of the burden.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people who are going to want to go, cool, everybody good, I'm out.
I'm checking out.
Well, I hope there is some sort of like opportunity for anybody who is a big business owner, and especially in big franchises. Furlough some of your leadership when you can for a little bit. Not furlough, that's not the word. Sabbatical for your leadership. Like give them the opportunity to go take a breath and to recharge themselves. Like not all of them are very good at that. You know, leaders will they'll burn out unnecessarily. So I hope those that help coach and help direct our leaders in the industry will help force them into a sabbatical for at least a little bit, just to take a breath, to recharge and understand, like, you did it. You survived.
Right.
Now let's go and do this. Yeah. So
now you got to take care of yourself too, because you got to stay strong. You got to stay on top, you know? If we're feeling bad, we're going to be weak for sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry for rambling. Obviously, you know that I love to hear myself talk.
I'm so glad that you did this with me today. Hey, Randy, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you or learn more about Keller Williams or your team or just talk to you. How can they reach out?
That's so kind of you. No, well, I mean, anybody can reach out to me. I am on Instagram at Randy Olive. I am on Facebook, Randy Olive, or my kind of coaching, like all that page is just Mission Vision Values, because that's one of the things I love. So at Mission Vision Values on YouTube, Randy Olive, Randy Olive at KW.com. If you Googled me enough, you could probably find my cell number. I am about as open out there as possible. But yeah, man, anybody that I love having these conversations, and I need to just say, like, since I have the platform to be able to do this, like, you're fabulous. I do like one of my favorite all-time moments in real estate. I know this sounds like crazy, was the back and forth of when you and I were being interviewed. I feel like we almost took it over. Like, I mean, I feel like I should apologize because like, but like there's such a wavelength. And the beautiful thing is that we were not regurgitating each other's opinions. We are on different sides of the fence on some things. And I'm like, I'm so grateful that she is doing what she's doing in this industry and in Houston, because she will change the lives of agents. So rising tide raises all ships. And we're a community of agents, and we have to protect that first. Your brand, your color, your creed, all that stuff, it doesn't matter first if we don't protect the industry and to make it great. And I think you do that all the time. And I was, when you texted me, I was like, yes, absolutely. Yes, I will talk to you again. This is fabulous. I would do this all the time. I think you're amazing. So I want to end with that being the statement rather than me, because you really are fabulous. And I really mean that.
Thank you, Randy. Well, you are too. And that's why I wanted to have you here, because it's like, you know, when you find like-minded people, it's like we need to help the world as much as we can, because people pay attention to that, you know, and you are affecting people's lives and you're changing lives. We are together.
Yeah. Yeah. Together. I love it. Better together.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here today, Randy.
I really appreciate it. All right.
Bye, y'all.